Hello, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Simply Saturday. For today's Fast and Simple card, I'm starting with a layout that you'll remember from episode 193. We are doing a fall card today. This is set to go public on YouTube on November 8th. And so if you are doing any last minute crafting before Thanksgiving, this will still give you some time to be inspired and craft something like this. So as I mentioned, we're starting with a similar layout, changing it up a little bit, but it might look familiar to you. I'm starting with a piece of crushed curry cardstock. This is our card base for today. It's 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. I have already scored it at 4.25 inches, and we'll go ahead and fold that. And oddly enough, my bone folders have been set up for a class that is occurring here in a couple minutes. And so I would usually use my bone folder. I'm just going to finger press it. All right, then I have a piece of Early Espresso cardstock. This measures 5 inches by 5.25 inches by 4 inches. This is going to be our layer right on top. Let's go ahead and put that in place. Yes, 5.25 by 4 inches for this one. All right, then I have my next layer has been die cut with the textured notes dies. And that piece looks like this. If you do not have the textured notes dies and just want to cut a rectangle, that will work and it will be just fine. Let me give you an idea what size to cut that. You're going to want to cut that at 4.75 inches by 3.25 inches. That piece is going to go here, but we're going to do some stamping on it before we move on. All right, I'm going to do something that's a little bit different, and I have not pre-made this card, which I do sometimes. It's only in my head. So we're going to create an all-over background on this piece with our stamps, and I'm going to use the Gather stamp, which is kind of large, and it's a little bit strange to use words. Let me tell you what I mean. Originally, I was going to do this, fill this with a fall pattern, and then add some words as a focal image. But I'm switching it up and I'm gonna put the words into the all over pattern. So we're gonna use Early Espresso for that. And what I do want to do is change the angle of this so it's not all the same. So I'm gonna put one that way. One over here at that angle. I think what I'm going to do is not do any upside down, although you could make a good case for that if you're making a random pattern. But I think I'll just alter the angle of it, but not actually upside down, if that makes sense as you're watching. Like so. I'm thinking it might need one here, but let's do our next step and then we'll decide if we need to come back. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is with Garden Green, I'm going to add some of this little leafy branch. Now, typically when I've been using the Gathering Moments and the Gathering Together paper, I've been reaching for Old Olive because that is one of the colors in the paper. But in my mind today, I wanted a little bit of a brighter green. So I'm choosing Garden Green today. And that's what we're going with. So I'm going to fill in a couple of places with my Garden Green. Now I said that, I wonder if my Garden Green needs to be re-inked. It's a little bit pale. Okay, I'm only going to put a couple of these because I'm also going to fill in with a leaf stamp. And for my leaf, I'm going to use crushed curry. Now, the decision is if I'm going to use it full strength or if I'm going to stamp it off and use it lighter. We're just going to use it straight from the ink pad. All right, so let's put one right in here. One here. One here, and let's take a look. I think we're going to stop. I think we're just going to stop with that. Look at how fast and easy. All right, this piece can now get mounted onto the card that we've already begun. All right, and I'm looking at my borders, my right and left, top and bottom. The top and the bottom are going to be a little bit wider than the side borders, just the way that the dimensions of the paper ended up. I'm going to flip this over and give it a really good press. I flip it over because just in case I had some ink or something on my finger, I would hate to put a smudge on that beautiful white stamped piece. All right, there we have that. Now I'm going to take this. I've got two arches that are cut from Everyday Arches, the smallest and the next size up. And this is where I'm going to put my acorn. Now, I'm going to use Cajun Craze for the acorn. And in my mind, I kind of wanted to use this little, kind of like a plaid or a crosshatch pattern. It's very subtle. And I was thinking if we used crumb cake, maybe even stamped off first, what that would look like if we create a little bit of a pattern on here. All right, I want to test it and I want to really see what it looks like on the white cardstock as opposed to scratch paper. So I'm going to flip this over in case I don't like it. I haven't wasted this. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit like that. Maybe two of them. Okay, we're going to go with it. So for the real thing, stamp it off onto my cardstock. Stamp it off. I think this time I'll turn it just so it's not the same, like that. So we've got a soft little subtle print on there. And now I can come in with the Cajun Craze and my one beautiful acorn. Right, probably centered, maybe a little bit above center, like so. Okay, now we're going to add this to the arch. I had the opportunity to use a green one if I wanted, but because at the last minute I switched to garden green, and this is Old Olive, let's stay with our crushed curry. It definitely matches and it looks so good. Sorry, that's like hard for you to see. There we go. Okay, gluing that on there. Now, this piece looks a little naked down there, so we're going to add a little something there. But first, let's go ahead and we're just going to position this right there on the card. Let's pop it up with some dimensionals. And then we're going to use one of the choices of linen thread. We're either going to just use the neutral colored linen thread or maybe the green or the brown. We'll take a look and see which one looks best. Sometimes it depends on your mood, right? All right, we've got that right there. At first I was kind of sad that I'm going to cover up that one yellow leaf, but because this is yellow, it's still bringing in the color, the crushed curry color. Okay, so this would be a definite easy choice. That would look good. I think that I'll not do the Old Olive since I used garden green as my green, but what about the Early Espresso? Okay, here's my executive decision. I'm going to take 8 inches of this, which might be a little bit of overkill. And I'm going to take 8 inches of the linen thread. The Early Espresso and the Old Olive, these that come in a pack together, are a little bit thicker than the actual linen thread, but they definitely are more like linen thread than twine. Okay, so I'm going to take my 2 pieces, hold them together, and we're just going to tie a bow so we get both the light and the dark. First, I'm going to pull it like so and get some of those kinks out of it. You can see how nicely that works. You just drag your thumbnail, reminiscent of curling ribbon. You're just going to drag it down the length of it, although instead of curling, this is actually pulling the curl out of it. And then tie a small bow. Takes a moment to get the loops the size that we want them. Whoop, that's kind of big. All right, we've got our little two-tone bow. And that's going to go on here with a glue dot. I'm going to tighten up my knot. And then let's grab a mini glue dot. The knot in this little bow, the center, is significant enough that I'm going to be able to take it, just nestle it down into the glue dot right here on the backing paper, and then peel it off. And now the glue dot is stuck to the middle of my bow, and I can just put this into place right there. Look at how sweet that is. Okay, like I said, that's really different. Usually I would put the words on the focal point, and instead we just put one of the images. I'm going to trim this a little bit. This end might not need it. And then let's do something different on the inside as well. Often I would just put a piece of white as a panel on the inside, maybe stamp it, or maybe add a little accent of designer series paper. Today we're going to do something different. Let's take a piece of the designer series paper. This piece I've cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4. We're going to use this on the inside of the card, which honestly, I've never finished the inside of a card this way before. And I can already tell that I'm going to like it and want to do this again. So this is going to go right here, and it's going to just be a frame for my white piece. Of course, the white piece is where you're going to write your message and sign your name. But look at, this is going to give it a little bit of a frame on the inside. Look at how lovely that is. All right, let's repeat that acorn on this little white piece, just because it's so cute and fun. And add this to the inside of the card. And that's going to give us our fast and easy card for today. Let's look at the front and determine if we should add any further embellishing or if we should just leave it. Again, I try not to overdo it when it's a fast and easy card. We really want it to be, to live up to its name. And I'm honestly thinking that it's enough. I don't really want to add any bling or sparkle, so I'm going to leave it. But if it's something that you think needs a little extra with some gems or some sequins or sparkles, of course you could add those and it would be beautiful, I'm sure. Thanks so much for watching. I will put some information for you below this video in the drop-down box. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And that way you will get to see each new card tutorial that I put up, whether it's a Simply Saturday or a longer, more involved project. I would love to have you join me. See you next time.